Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're going to be talking about Rivals 2. As some of you probably already know, there was an open beta this weekend for people that donated to the Kickstarter. I happen to be one of those people, and you got access to the game early for one weekend, and I gotta say, this game is a lot of fun. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about the things that I did and didn't like, and I plan to wrap it up by doing a tier list at the end with the available characters, but straight up, I have no idea what's going on with the tier list in this game. I could probably rank like the top 2 characters and the bottom 2 characters, but that middle area, I don't know, so I'm just going to be reviewing characters at the end of the video and saying what I liked and didn't like about them, and let's just get right into it. Editing for Block here, I made the executive decision to talk about the characters before I talked about the things I didn't and didn't like about the game. So let's get into that, and also let's get into the 8 characters that we had access to in the Rivals 2 beta, and I'm going to be ranking them on a scale of 1 to 5, basically just off of how much I like playing as the character, how much I like playing against the character, and just the cool mechanics that they had. Starting off with the new edition of Fleet, and she's the first true zoner that has been added to Rivals, and for a true zoner, she was very fun to play against. Most of the time when you're playing against projectile characters, it is just an absolute nightmare trying to get in it. But I didn't feel this way versus Fleet. I think that's because you can interact versus her arrows a lot more than you would versus other projectiles. So you can kind of just swat them out of the air. And if your timing is good enough, it really is not that big of a deal. Only if your timing is good enough, of course. And then a bunch of the projectiles that she has, like her up smash, for example, you're not really going to need to worry about that one in the neutral. Same thing with the down air. But I love her kit. Overall, as a character, I do think she's probably the worst character in access to the beta just because you are easily able to get rid of her projectiles, and she does struggle a lot to kill, especially in contrast to some other characters. I also think her grab game isn't the strongest, but overall, I thought she was a really strong iteration of a zoner character in Rivals, and I hope if they add other zoners in the game, they're going to kind of follow that same trend that Fleet does, and I would give her a 3 out of 5. The next character I want to talk about is wrastor, and he was probably my least favorite character in the Rivals demo, but I do think he's a very cool concept. Having your smash attacks or your strong attacks being in the air instead of the ground is just a really nice way to mix it up. And as I already said at the start of the video, I do think that Rivals is a much more grounded game, especially in contrast to Smash Ultimate. And he just didn't really work out for me. And before I get any comments about it, it's not because he's purple. I know I had some issues like that in the past, but I have grown as a person, and I hope people are ready to accept that. And it's not because he's purple, but I'm going to be giving wrastor a 1 out of 5. And a quick plug, I realized I forgot to say where I would put wrastor on a tier list, and as I said at the start of the video, I don't have definite spots for the characters, but he's definitely in the upper half of the game, at least top 3 in my opinion. Next up is going to be Maple, and she's probably the character I played the least in the Rivals 2 demo, but there are 2 things about her that I really like. The first one is going to be her forward air. I'm a simple man. I like a forward air that spikes. What can I say? But the second one is going to be her special pummel. I think it is such a cool concept when she puts the dandelion on you. It just makes it so her combo game is a lot more creative, and I love characters where you can be super creative in the combo game. That was another thing about Rivals that I really appreciated, and I don't know if that was just because I didn't know what the set combos were at this point, but it feels like there was so many ways you can kind of branch out on your combo trees, and Maple is probably the best at doing that. And I also think that Maple is the best character in the Rivals 2 demo. She is just so smothering. It's very easy for her to get the kill. The damage output is crazy. The only real weakness that the character has, in my opinion, is her recovery isn't the greatest, but you also do have the tether, and even though the tether is absolutely punishable, it is still a way to get back to the stage for free. And if you win that scramble, now you're back on stage, and it's not like her recovery is god-awful. She's one of the few characters in the game that I actually think got buffed off stage because of how the ledge works now, because she has her side B, she can side B, she can wall jump, and now she can actually snap to the ledge. And overall, she's very good. I would give her a 2 out of 5 because I personally just didn't really like her, but she's broken. Next up is going to be Ranno, and I am a very big fan of Ranno, and not even playing as the character. I honestly didn't play as him that much, but he definitely reminded me of that Sheik archetype. You're going to be a very quick character with a super solid damage output, and you have needles, but what he has that Sheik doesn't have is the bubble mechanic, and I am a huge fan of the bubble mechanic. The way that he's able to use it off stage to recover with his side B, the way that he's able to use it to create more pressure or to live in certain scenarios like a Steve block, but it's not as overtuned as a Steve block because oftentimes you can get the punish if you're in the right positioning. I just think it's a super cool mechanic overall, and I was just a huge fan of Ranno. Every single time this character did anything, I was like, that's sick. I didn't know he could do that. Whenever he did the uppie and then just started throwing a bunch of shurikens, my jaw literally dropped, and I know it's not that crazy, but just the amount of detail and time that went into this character is very apparent. I wasn't a huge fan of playing him myself, but I'm still going to give Ranno a 4 out of 5 because he's just so cool. Editing Fruit Block, I once again forgot to put Ranno on the tier list, and he is another character that I would have in the higher echelon of the game. He's probably the character that I'm honestly the least confident about where I would put him, but at least in that top 4. Next up is going to be Craig, and I am a big Craig fan. Now, unfortunately, they did nerf him, so poor went out, but I watched Genesis top 8. They definitely needed to nerf this character, though he is still very good. I would have him in the top 3 of the game currently, and I just want to say right now, Neutral Special is one of my favorite moves in any fighting game, period. The fact that it, number one, just pulls out the block, and the block as a mechanic is so funny to me, but now that it is a command grab in the air, I think that is so sick, and it makes the creativity with this character, again, so much higher. I'm always going to give big points to characters with creativity, and Craig has a lot of it. This character's damage output is super high. He hits like a truck. I'm a big fan of heavy archetypes in games if you couldn't figure that out, and Craig was just super fun to play. The only bad part about this character is his recovery, but thank God he has a bad recovery, because I don't know what it would be like if he had a perfect one. I think he would just be the best character in any video game ever. And also, it's really fun to get edge guarded by Craig and also edge guard Craig because of the intricacies of the wall. There's just so many interactions that you wouldn't have in any other scenario that I'm a really big fan of. And overall, I would give Craig a 4 out of 5. Next up is going to be Zetterburn, and he's kind of like Fox and Wolf combined. I think that's the best way to describe it, and honestly, that's good game design because he is very fun to play. I also really like the fire mechanic with this character. This isn't a new thing to Rivals by any means, but I just think it's cool, the pressure that you're able to create up close and personal, especially now that you have access to a grab. Your opponent is so scared of getting hit by that smash attack because they're going to die at like 4%. Now he's got a grab, and he's got a super strong forward throw as well, so he can send people off stage. He's got that really satisfying spike, and moving around with this character is so fun because he has access to that down B. You could just be moving on the platforms, and all of a sudden, bam, big burst of movement, and it does a ton of damage. Overall, I would say he is in the lower half of the cast on the tier list, but not like a crazy amount. I would have him from somewhere from like the 4 to 6 range. Anywhere like there sounds good. And overall, I would probably give him a 3 out of 5. Next up is going to be Clairen, and I'm a really big fan of Clairen. I don't have a ton to say about her, but basically it's Marth, but awesome, because they added a stun or a freeze, whatever you would call it, effect to when you hit the tippers, and that is such a good idea. Again, it was in Rivals, but I just think it is such a cool concept because now you're rewarded always for hitting tippers. And a big problem with tipper characters is that the low percents, it's really hard for them to get their damage up because in order to get combos, they usually have to hit sour spots, and sour spots aren't as strong. For Clairen, that is not the case. You're rewarded every single time for hitting a tipper. You're so creative with this character because you get so much time to choose what your next move is going to be. I think she is extremely well made. I also really like the change that they made to her neutral special because that move is actually valuable now. That old move used to be absolute garbage. I think her counters are a really cool idea, just to be like, hey, no more projectiles, come play in my zone. I get a little bit of a breather. Where I put her on the tier list, probably in the same area as Zetterburn, that 6 to 4 area. She's not bad, but she's not amazing by any means, and I would give her a 4 out of 5. Really, really like that freeze mechanic. And the final character that we have to talk about is going to be the best character, which is Loxodont. And I don't mean that on the tier list. On the tier list, he's in that 7th or 8th spot for sure. He's definitely one of the weaker characters in the game. And there's not a huge gap between the bad characters and the good characters in Rivals, which I very much appreciate, but you can definitely tell which ones are stronger. And as the game progresses, Loxodont would just get naturally worse because heavies are always going to get worse in games. But let's actually talk about the character because I feel like they made him specifically for me. This character is so much fun. He's got these massive disjoints on pretty much every single move that he has, and they combo into each other extremely well. You have so much creativity in your combos with the Nair 1 especially. I really like how his down B mechanic works with the fire. You have this move with massive burst range. It's also a combo move. It's a recovery move. It basically does everything, but you don't have it all the time, which I very much appreciate. And the two big things about Loxodont, or the three big things about him that I really like: number one, he's got a Ganon Stomp. I always appreciate a Ganon Stomp. Number two, I love his command grab. It's basically the Ridley side B, but instead it sets up into a tech chase scenario or spikes people, which is awesome. And the final thing is going to be he has a Kamikaze up B, and I just kind of like Kamikaze up Bs. This character is perfect in every single way, even though he's not amazing, and I'm going to be giving him a 5 out of 5. Thank you for adding him. So let's talk about the things that I liked about this game, starting off with some of the big changes that they made from Rivals 1, and I'd say the biggest change is that they added a shield to the game, and they added a grab to the game, and that is a huge plus for me. My favorite thing in fighting games is grabbing people, so that is definitely a lot of bias, but I feel like it just makes the game flow a lot better. And you still have the parry system that you had from Rivals 1, but I think the addition of a shield is really good, and especially the addition of a grab is really good. And I also love how they did the pummel in Rivals, because it's not like pummel in other fighting games. You have a special pummel and you have a normal pummel, and if the opponent guesses which pummel you're going to do, so they press the correlating button, then you just break out of the grab for free. But you can also choose to not pummel at all and then just get your guaranteed grab. And I think what's going to happen as we progress into the game is there's going to be certain characters that you just always special pummel versus, like Clairen, for example. Every single time that character grabs me, I am mashing my B button no matter what. I'll take that like 4% that I get from a pummel and the grab. It's whatever. It is such a good special throw, and I think that's what you're going to see develop as the game goes further. Certain characters are just never going to get access to their special, but that's fine, because then you still get a lot more damage from the normal pummel, and then maybe someone's going to try to call it out. All of a sudden, you get mixed up. I think it's just a really fun pummel system versus the normal pummel system, which is just, you know, mashing your controller as fast as you can. That works for some people, but I have little baby fingers, and it doesn't work for me. Another really good change that they added to Rivals 2 is putting in a ledge, and it acts as a melee ledge, so there's no ledge jumping in the game. If I'm holding onto the ledge, it is mine and mine alone. And I know a lot of people have a huge preference over ledge jumping or just holding onto the ledge and not letting it go. I personally don't care. I just like that they added a ledge and changed how the wall jump worked in this game, because in the old Rivals, you could up B into the wall jump, and then up B again. Now in this game, if you up B, you cannot wall jump out of it. And I think that's a really good change, because it just made edge guarding in that game really difficult, because you had so much variety in your recovery, and a majority of the time characters were like always making it back to the stage. Now in this game, the fact that I can stop you from getting to the ledge, you don't have infinite resources off stage, I think it makes the off-stage gameplay flow a lot better, and I'm just a fan of the change. And this isn't a super major point, so I won't spend a ton of time talking about it, but I really like the stage list that they had available. It feels like every single one of those stages could be tournament viable, and I know one of the biggest issues I personally have with Smash Ultimate is that the stage list is garbage, and there's not a universal stage list, but if every stage is just legal, it kind of solves all of those problems, so good job in that aspect. And that's the final big change that they made from Rivals 1 to Rivals 2 that I thought was a really good adjustment. And now I kind of just want to talk about how I liked the game. And I'll keep this part fairly brief, because I can only say I had a lot of fun multiple times. But basically, I had a lot of fun. The most fun I've had in a game in so long. Like, since Smash Ultimate came out, I think the best way to describe how Rivals feels is it's like Melee if you didn't have to L cancel every 2 seconds. You have that movement. You can wave dash around. The combo game is sick, but you don't have to L cancel, and it's such a nice part, because that's like the main problem with Melee is there's a huge thing of entry where if you don't know how to do this tech, you just really can't play the game. Now with Rivals, you get rid of that, and you have all that fundamental gameplay still there, and it's just so much fun. I also feel like every single character in this game is extremely fair. There are definitely some characters that are better than others, but there was no point in the game where I feel like there was nothing I could do. I was just getting absolutely cheesed or robbed all the time, and I'm sure if we had a couple more days on the game, that would start to happen. But overall, I just had a lot of fun playing this game. It's an absolute joy in the advantage state, in the neutral, even the disadvantage is fun to navigate. Just, they did a good job. But they didn't do a perfect job, so I'm going to be talking about the things that I really didn't like about the game, and I only have 3 of them. The first one is going to be, I think the shields are way too strong, and this isn't that big of a deal, to be honest, but through my 15 hours or so of play, I didn't see a shield break a single time, and it was not from a lack of trying. Believe me on that. I was doing my best. I was wailing on those shields, but they would not budge, and because of this, I think it makes the game extremely grounded. I mentioned earlier how it's a lot more grounded than Ultimate, but Ultimate is a fairly aerial-based game, to be fair, but I feel like in this game, your shield is just so strong. There's no risk of putting it up. You can't get shield poke either, which is a really big plus for it, and I think if they make adjustments to the shield where it's just a little bit weaker so people aren't as comfortable in it, it's going to be a nice change. Another issue that I had with this game is that tech chasing is so free that it's not even funny, specifically with tech chase grab, where you could just grab people over and over and over again. And I know what you're saying, skill issue, you don't like that you were getting hit by that, but I was also tech chase grabbing people for free for like 50-40% at a time, and if I am doing that, then you have a massive problem. And I like that as a mechanic. I think you should be able to chain grab people if you can do it. I think you should be able to tech chase grab people if you can do it. The problem right now is that it's just so free, and I'm not super sure how they're going to change this issue. I'm not sure if it's going to be they make the roll distance bigger, or maybe they make grabs a little bit slower. I don't know how it's going to happen, but if it happens, I think that's going to be a really good change, because as it feels right now, you get grabbed, you're taking like a guaranteed 50-40%, even if you hit every single tech, and I'm just not a huge fan of that. I should also add that basically every single move in this game immediately sends you into tumble, which makes tech chasing that much more of a problem. So maybe they'll change that in the future where you have to actually get to a higher percent before these moves send into tumble, but that's a more minor thing. And easily the biggest issue that I had with the Rivals 2 demo is that Edalus wasn't in the game. What are we doing here? He's your mascot character, the pride of Rivals of Aether, and you're not even going to put him in the demo. So that was pretty unacceptable. I know he's going to be in the main game, so it shouldn't be that big of a deal, but it did ruin my day. And with that, I thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. In summary, Rivals 2 was awesome. I am so excited for this game to come out. Every single aspect of the game pretty much was incredible. It just felt so good to play. All the characters were fun. I never felt like I was getting robbed or cheesed a single time. And yeah, that's all I really got to say. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed the sport. It's been absolutely unreal as of late. If there's anything left out, got wrong, or if you just want to say hi, leave a comment down below. Be sure to stop while you're down there. And I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.